the 19th century from the plans of the architect Joseph Perlat. It was built by the first Belgian king, Leopold I, at the request of his wife, Louis-Marie d'Orléans. Beneath the choir of the church there is a crypt with the tombs containing the remains of all the former members of the Belgian royal family. The crypt is only open to the public a few days in the year, specifically Sunday afternoons and on certain anniversaries. Behind the church is Leighton Cemetery, often compared to the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. It has an international name for the richness of its funerary sculpture, such as a copy of Rodin's Thinker. Built between 1782 and 1784 at the request of the Archduchess Marie Christine, daughter of the famous Empress Marie-Thérèse of Austria. In his lifetime, Napoleon Bonaparte was also one of its owners. He was staying here at the time he declared war on Russia. When it became independent, the Belgian state evicted King William I of the Netherlands to offer it to its first monarch, Leopold I. This palace is the private home of the royal family. The Brussels Palace is used for ceremonial purposes only. Three Asian buildings which are unique of their kind. The Japanese Tower, the Chinese Pavilion, and the Museum of Japanese Art are some of the most impressive buildings constructed by King Leopold II. For aficionados of China and Japan, these museums are a real invitation to take a trip around the Far East, thanks to the architecture and the collections they house. The next stop is the one you would take to pay them a visit. Facing us now are the Royal Leighton Greenhouses, a group of greenhouses built in 1876 by the architect Ballard in collaboration with his student Victor Horta, later to become famous as the genius of Art Nouveau. This jewel is a genuine city of glass, covering 14,000 square meters and consists of around 30 pavilions, all connected together and containing tens of thousands of exotic plants, trees and flowers. They are an attraction as much because of the quality of the architecture as for the collection of tropical and subtropical plants. The greenhouses are open to the public for 3 weeks each year, from the end of April or the beginning of May, depending on the flowering of the azalea and fuchsia beds. To find out the next opening day, call the tourist office or check out its website, worldwideweb.visitbrussels.be.
Royal.
Those to the south, Catholic. The southern Low Countries corresponded more or less to the Belgium of today. They remained under Spanish control until 1713. In the 18th century, the south passed into the hands of the Austrian Habsburgs. This was annexed in 1795 by revolutionary France, and thus became part of the empire of Napoleon Bonaparte. After the fall of Napoleon, the Conference of Vienna founded the United Kingdom of the Low Countries, a buffer state between France and Germany, re-establishing the Low Countries of the 15th century. But religious and linguistic differences, plus the refusal of King William I to accept certain liberal reforms, led finally to the Revolution of 1830 and Belgian independence. They had a strong desire to control their own country. As they left the opera house, the well-fed middle classes, slightly drunk — at the time you could dine as you listened to the lyrical arias — found themselves mingling with workers short of food because of the crisis. Together they launched a coup d'etat, the outcome of which was the creation of Belgium, an independent kingdom. Belgium was the second greatest modern economic power in the world. Brussels, the capital, was its financial centre. Over the 20th century, Brussels has continued to be the most important growth centre in the country. In the second half of the 20th century, the city became the de facto capital of the European Union. This development has led to the region and its people becoming very much citizens of the world. An initial neo-Gothic project was originally chosen and building started in 1905, but was brought to a halt because of World War I. Quite a different style, less costly and more fashionable, was eventually chosen. As a result, exhibitions and events are also held here.
afternoon, everybody.
The cityscape here has changed a great deal over the past decades. In 1958, a viaduct, built for the Universal Exhibition, connected the Basilica to the centre of the city. This was demolished in 1984 and offered to Thailand, where it now stands, known as the Thai-Belgium flyover bridge. The viaduct was replaced by a 2.3-kilometre tunnel which passes beneath the canal. The green space on the left is beloved by walkers and hosts a number of open-air festivals in summer. This promenade forms part of a number of public green areas which represent 20% of the land area of Brussels. A plan, available at the Tourism Office, shows the proposed 50-kilometre green belt surrounding the entire region. You will be able to cover it on foot or cycle, depending how fit or how brave you are. For bicycle fans, there are 180 cycle hire points spread out throughout the region. City centre, they are barely 500 metres apart. Yourself in the city, where it is essential to get away from the main thoroughfares if you want to discover its typical neighbourhoods, here are just a few clues as to what average Brussels dwellers are like. Above all, they are very welcoming. They like to be visited. In the cafes and bars, you'll notice the way a conversation is picked up from one table to another. Shopkeepers are delighted to chat and very free with information about their merchandise. If you get off at the next stop, you can visit Tour and Taxis, a unique architectural complex, which in the past was the location of customs warehouses, but now is the venue for cultural exhibitions, salons, concerts and festivals, the most famous of which is the Couleur Café, 3 nights in May, which echo every kind of music under the sun. On the other side of the canal, Bruxelles-les-Bains has been created, a fine sandy beach with sports facilities, places to relax, gourmet grass huts, and concerts in the evening. Passing alongside the Charleroi Canal, which is actually the extension of the Willebroek Canal mentioned a few moments ago. On the left is the former Petit Chateau barracks. In 1775, this building was home to an Austrian garrison but it is better known to the men of Brussels over the age of 40 because this is where they would come to be recruited for military services, obligatory at the time. It is now a reception centre for asylum seekers. Industrial and rather neglected at the end of the last century, can look forward to a brilliant future. Within 3 years' time, all the relaxing allure of the riverbank will have returned, and homes will bring back everyday life to the edge of the water. This is still a very popular location for sampling mussels, fish and other seafood. This is also where our Christmas market, known as the Pleasures of Winter, is held from the end of November to the beginning of January. From here to the Grand Place, there are 2 kilometers of magic and fairyland, with a skating rink, a bobsled run, and cultural attractions. Over 100 chalets offer Christmas delicacies and endless suggestions for gifts for the holidays. Brussels feel like crowing with pride, because this is a city which is very proud of the gifted stylists based in this street and nearby. Thanks to the top quality schools where they were trained, and thanks also to a creative spirit, which is obvious everywhere in Brussels, our creative spirits are the stars of the podiums of the greatest fashion parades. Designers are also based in this district, and Brussels design has its very own character, moving from vintage to streamline or from minimalist to baroque. This is where you should take a good look around to fill not only your wardrobe, but your entire home with new treasures. And trendy restaurants. The theme is very animated, fashionable and multicultural. In the past, this was actually an island in the Seine, with a church dedicated to Saint Thierry. Legend has it that this was the chapel of the castle which lies at the Facing us is the Bourse, the stock exchange, eclectic in style, built between 1868 and 1873. Which was the crowning achievement of the building of the new boulevards and the symbol of the conquest of the city by the bourgeoisie. The sculptures are partly the work of a French sculptor whose name is now forgotten, but he had a young collaborator by the name of Auguste Rodin.
Michael, please come plus.
the Victor Horta Museum, the Cambre Woods and Abbey, Flagey Square, and the Art Nouveau houses, Jubilee Park and the Great Museums, the European institutions, Brussels Park, and the Royal Palace. Thank you for choosing City Sightseeing Brussels. If you want to repeat the experience in other countries, don't forget to keep your ticket. This will get you a 10% reduction in over 95 cities around the world.